playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 if you win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. What are you guys waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, explain this pyramid exercise there, Mike.
So we had Hayden Groven last week, and when we bring guests in studio, sometimes we want to just do a traditional interview, which we just did with Zach for 15 minutes, but we're going to be for half an hour. Figure we have some fun, and we could call it a game. I just think it's more of an exercise.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is a little homage to something Bill Simmons did on his podcast a couple weeks ago, and he made a pyramid of the best receivers in football to find out where Stephon Diggs ranked on his quote-unquote pyramid to see if he was worth the value that the Texans gave up for him. So I said, okay, we're not going to rank the best receivers. We're going to project the best seasons that Browns will have in 2024, but put them in a period format so we could tweet it out as a graphic later. Okay. That makes sense. So the pyramid is more for the graphic format
so
afterwards.
Who's going to be the Browns' best player, and then the next is two
players,
three,
and then yes. So you can call it tiers.
You
can call it pyramid. Pyramid just looks easier on a graphic. So what we're doing, this has nothing to do with past. We are projecting the best seasons for 2024.
Well, it has something to do with past because that's going to factor into your
but I'm
decision,
saying just because you had a good season last year, if you don't expect them to have the same, and we'll discuss, we'll come to a conclusion, and we'll move on. But there is one player in the top tier.
All right.
2 players in the second, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and 5 in the fifth. 15 players total.
Top 15 Browns.
Gee, I have a feeling you didn't look at this at all last night when we sent the rundown out because you looked very confused by the top.
Did you know this was coming?
I did.
Yes, I texted Zach.
I got coached up.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, at one, is it just Myles Garrett? Is there any debate?
I had Myles Garrett as my number one.
Well, that's the easy one.
I think there could be debate, but I mean, I think he's in his own galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it could be debate because, as Mike said, you got to look forward just because he was the best player last year. Okay, so we're going to agree on that and just move on?
Myles was my number one, and I had him a tier above everyone else regardless.
Well, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Are we picking individual offensive linemen, or are we saying the offensive
I picked individual offensive linemen for a few of them.
Okay.
Wow.
That makes it tricky.
Yeah, that gets pretty far.
All right,
I'm gonna go with Myles Garrett because he can pop off 15 or 17 like it ain't nothing. Sacks. So yeah, I mean Myles Garrett.
So we're Consensus Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
We'll have the best.
I think if Nick Chubb had been fully healthy, it could have been an interesting debate. But
you got to
obviously
consider that.
not fully healthy. All right, so tier 2. Are we just picking the 2 guys, or are we saying he's 2, he's 3?
I just put 2 guys for tier 2.
Okay, so 2 guys in tier 2.
Zach, you want to start?
I'm going to trust Denzel Ward.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he is really an elite corner, and he's never missed more than 4 games in a season, even though people call him injury prone.
Yeah.
I think the Schwartz scheme really allowed him to take off, last year. He missed some time early in the summer, but I think once he found himself, I think that was the best version of Denzel Ward, and I really think the best version of Denzel Ward is nearly as good as anybody.
Real quick, Zach, I'm curious. What tier does Deshaun Watson have to be on for the Browns to be legitimate? Not playoffs, because they're a playoff contender.
You messing the game up, boy.
No.
Messing the game up?
No, because we'll get to Deshaun when he falls in here, but I'm curious what Zach thinks on that particular
tier. What's the minimum tier you think he has to be on for them to be a legit Super Bowl contender?
Minimum third.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
He's got to be a top 6 player on the Browns.
Right. We're not talking about 10-7. Right, we're talking about
Super Bowl, beating the Chiefs.
Yes,
I mean that's the bar.
Sure.
Can you beat the Chiefs?
Sure. Yeah, minimum 3rd.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. All right, so Denzel Ward on tier 2. I agree with Denzel Ward. Anybody anti-Denzel Ward?
I had him on tier 3 of my list.
He's on tier 3.
Now I had my 2 tier 2 guys.
Yeah.
For almost the exact same reason Zach presented for Denzel, I had JOK.
I got him.
Now JOK had a tremendous season last year. I think in another year under Jim Schwartz, I have no reason to believe he will regress back to the player we saw in the first 2 seasons of his career.
Yeah.
And I think with a Jordan Hicks next to him as well, an upgrade at the other linebacker to his left and right, depending on the formation.
Right.
He will continue to ascend. I thought he was right on the all-pro level in his 3rd season in a contract year, playing for more money. I think JOK is due for a monster season. I had Denzel as my first guy in tier 3 behind.
So who's your other tier 2 guy?
Wyatt Teller, who I am penciling in as my all-pro left guard next season.
You almost had it, McNuggets. You almost had it. You dropped the ball. You didn't finish your breakfast.
We're going to debate here. So, JOK, you agreed with who was your other guy?
JOK, you had that right. Mm-hmm. I think you might even see people talk about JOK possibly being one of the best. Mentioned with Myles Garrett as the best defender on the team. Mm-hmm. I think his tackles for loss, I think he's going to only continue to get better. And I'm just going to double down. Deshaun Watson is on tier 2. He's on tier 2.
That would be
4,500.
good news for the Browns.
You gotta have it. You gotta have it. I can't do it no more. Tier 2. We can't put him in tier 3. I can't keep putting defensive players over you. We need that Deshaun Watson, at least bare minimum, like 4,000 yards.
We need it, but do you believe he's going to be one of the 3 best players?
If he's throwing right now, I got it. I'm marking it down.
Who are your 2 guys, bro?
I had JOK also, but I had Denzel Ward and not Deshaun Watson.
So then those are the 2 guys.
Wait, Zach didn't have
Zach,
second
who's your
guy.
second
Who's
one?
your second guy?
Well, I would consider JOK there, but here's why I would put Denzel clearly ahead of him. And this is probably more for what the Browns need in reality. But did you see how the other 2 corners played in the playoff game?
Yeah.
It was not great.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smoked.
Well,
And for one in particular, that was very uncharacteristic.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like Denzel is what makes this secondary.
So
Well,
you-
we have 2 guys in tier 2. So you have Denzel. Who would be your other vote for the second guy you put in tier 2?
I would probably lean JOK slightly over Amari Cooper.
Then those are
Yeah,
2
the
tier
rest
2
of us
guys.
didn't even consider Amari. I'm a little worried about Amari Cooper's age at this point. A little
Do we
bit.
want to lock in Denzel Ward and JOK?
JOK,
Let's
those
do
are
Denzel Ward and
our 2
JOK.
tier 2 guys.
Yeah.
Which brings us to tier 3, Bull. Do you want to start? We'll go reverse order this time.
So I've been going back and forth on Deshaun Watson between tier 3 and tier 4, and I want him to be tier 3. So I'll be a little optimistic about this, and I'll put Deshaun Watson in tier 3.
Look at you trying to be somebody.
I have Amari Cooper in tier 3,
Yeah.
and I have Joel Bitonio in tier 3.
Ahead of Wyatt Teller.
I do. I know Teller was better last
He's
year,
better
but I thought Bitonio played his best football the second half of the season, and so I'm going to have Bitonio ahead this year, even though he's older.
Gee, you're 3 tier 3 guys.
I got Denzel, obviously. And then we got Denzel. We're going to go with David Njoku.
Well, that's a good one.
And this is crazy. It's kind of crazy. I got Jerry Jeudy in the third one.
Ahead of Amari Cooper?
I think they're gonna throw him
Ahead
the
of
ball.
Amari?
I think Amari Cooper might miss a few
Bold.
games next year, maybe
Could
3
happen.
or 4.
Not crazy.
And Deshaun Watson has not developed a go-to guy. If he catches the ball early, he might spoon feed him just the same way Flacco loved David Njoku.
Okay.
Chemistry like that. I'm gonna go with the sneaker and Judy.
So I'm with you, Bull, on 2 of the 3 guys. Or on one of the guys, but you mentioned Deshaun, 3, 4. I have him in tier 4. I could be talked into tier 3.
Yeah.
I think it's real close, but the 3 guys I had listed on my tier 3 were Amari, Denzel, which have already gotten named,
Yeah.
and then Njoku, who had a monster second half of the season. I
Right.
think in this new offense, which we don't exactly know what it'll look like, I can't imagine you have Ken Dorsey, Tommy Rees, Stu Staley, Kevin Stefanski, all these minds coming together, seeing what David Njoku did in the second half of last season, seeing how important he was, not only as a blocker but as a receiver, and not trying to make him some kind of focal point in this offense, especially with Nick Chubb on injury watch until we know when he's actually coming back.
Yeah.
Those are my 3 guys. I could be talked into Deshaun over at David Njoku if Zach wants to make the case for that.
Yeah, so I definitely would have. If JOK's in 2, I definitely have to go Amari at the start of 3.
Okay.
I will say Njoku too. I finally have seen the leap. I was a non-believer
call.
for a long time, and
Yeah,
I was
me
right,
too. Yeah.
right. But I finally saw him put it together for multiple games
Yeah.
for doing the little things right. And then you want it to be the quarterback. I think it's Dalvin Tomlinson. I think he was so important the way he just held down the anchor inside there. They went from having the worst defensive tackle group in the league to Dalvin being there every single game and playing his butt off every single game.
So what y'all
So
say?
Amari-
So what y'all saying? They not because you said Deshaun got to be in the top 3 for them to be
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 don't have him in there.
No.
Oh, it's 2.
'cause
2
you
is
had him
2.
in tier 2.
2 and 2.
I
So
have him, he's
split.
my first guy in tier
So-
4, so he's just underneath
So
it.
Amari and Njoku are definitely in tier 3. The third one is between Bitonio, Tomlinson, Watson.
Well, I had Wyatt Teller in tier 2, so he's got to be
But
in
he
there.
had
at least.
Watson in tier 2, and
I know,
nobody else
and-
had Teller. So I think Watson goes into tier 3.
I think Watson by
the
aggregate
last
score
spot,
gets the last
yeah.
spot in tier 3.
All right, let's all hope that's true.
Yeah.
Top 6. Okay.
That's not
so-
far. And once again, I had him as my first guy in tier 4.
Yeah.
So I mean, flipping one spot is right on line.
All
That's,
right,
that's
so-
our top 6 guys.
So
so
let's
far.
not name at this point. Let's not name guys that are already on the board.
Okay.
Let's name the guys who are.
So that's our tier.
So Miles, Watson, JOK,
And Njoku, Cooper,
I can't.
And Ward.
and Denzel Ward.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Bull's not good with initials.
Yeah, I'm not good. All right. So
When
guys.
we tweet out this graphic later, we're going to put headshots.
Yeah.
But for the sake of Anthony
Gotcha,
updating this
gotcha.
live,
Okay. So tier 4. So we got our top 6 players off the board. Who makes up the rest of the top 10 for you, Zach?
Well, I think both guards there,
Yep.
and then Dalvin Tomlinson, who
Yep.
I picked there, is for sure.
Yep.
Then it gets interesting. Is it Grant Delpit? Is it Jerry Jeudy? Is it Martin Emerson? It's certainly for me. So how many guys? Four guys going?
That's
Four
four
guys.
guys.
Four guys.
Yeah, so I'm going to go
both
both guards, Tomlinson and Martin Emerson.
So I'll go Teller, who I obviously already mentioned. I had Emerson in this tier too. I think he is a bona fide, could be number one corner on half the teams in football. He just happens to be a number two here because of Denzel Ward. I also put Joe Bitonio, so both guards. And I had Dustin Hopkins as my last guy in tier 4. A guy that Bull always likes to pronounce his name wrong. We do our drafts on Fridays during football season, but he was an all-pro caliber kicker last season.
How do you pronounce Dustin
What did I
Hopkins
do?
wrong?
What-
No, Bull does.
What did I call him?
Like 17 different names when we were drafting.
Yeah, it's not that I pronounced it wrong. I think I kept
He just
forgetting
kept
his name.
forgetting the name, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
he was so good last
But
season.
kickers are unreliable from year to year, most guys.
I'm in. I'm all in.
All right,
I'm
go
all in
ahead.
on him.
I'm going to go with the two guards, Emerson. And then this dude is forgotten a little bit because he got injured, but he got that money last year. I'm going to go with Grant Delpit.
None of you guys mentioned Nick Chubb. I guess it's the injury.
I had Chubb in 5.
I feel like I'm missing something with Dalvin Tomlinson. I had him a little lower, but like Zach knows the team better than I do. So I'm like, should I have picked Dalvin Tomlinson? But the guys who I had for tier 4, both guards. Well, now that Petonio's been pushed down, both guards, Emerson, and I'm putting Nick Chubb in tier 4 because I think once he comes back, he's going to be great again eventually.
How many games do you think Nick Chubb plays in 2024?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have an exact answer. I think the answer can be 8 or 10 and be fine for the Browns. Like
Right.
if he comes back and is Nick Chubb by game 3.
Yes.
And look, I'm clearly no doctor, but if there's one guy that can come back from this, it's
right.
Nick Chubb. Zero maintenance, all work, and just freakish strength.
Right.
You know, before he got hurt, his combo of the breakaway burst and the power was like
Unmatched.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so the guards both get in.
And Emerson
Gets
locked in. We got
so it's
one
down
more.
to the last spot between Tomlinson.
I said Delpit, but he probably
I think it's got to be Tomlinson because Zach initially
He
had him
had
in
him
tier
higher,
3, so I
so
think Tomlinson should be in. I think we're all missing the boat on Tomlinson. So
Can I ask Zach a question real quick on Tomlinson? Because I didn't have him in my next tier either, I'll be honest. And I
I
thought
had him in tier. I had him in the 50.
I had him in my honorable mention list.
Yeah.
You see him up close and personal more. Obviously, the defensive line, especially the interior, took a giant jump from 2022 to 2023.
There's not a lot of stats for those guys either.
No, but just you being at every game, seeing him way more than we do. We're not even at training camp because we're obviously here during the show. What does he bring that doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet that we may not be able to quantify without seeing it in person?
Why is JOK flying around? Well, JOK is really good, but he's eating up those blocks. He's holding down the point there and allowing Schwartz to mix and match the pass rushers and allowing JOK to fly around, allowing Grant Delpit to take his chances. That's what he's doing.
Then Tomlinson's the pick.
All right, so it's
Tomlinson.
the top. So there we go. So now now guys 11 to
Last
15.
5. Yep.
All right.
Do you want to let G go first?
Yeah, G,
He's the
go
first
first,
one. Oh,
yeah.
that's a good
Yeah, listen, this is the group of people that if they ball out or play above their grade, Browns can end up in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb, come back, get some rec.
Okay.
All right. So that we got him out of here. Zadarius Smith. Listen, bro. I was trying to get 10 sacks from you last year. He didn't give it to me, Zach. He didn't give me what I wanted. If he could get off what he was doing and be healthy, I like that pick. I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with this guy. I had Delpit in another one. I'm gonna have Grant Delpit in this one. You got paid last year, Grant, but you gotta be healthy.
Yep.
4, Greg Newsom. Way too. Listen. You got the skill set. We know what you can do, but here's the thing: you got to be able to be more consistent. Don't be trailing people. Know what you're doing. If he turns into one of those corners, they can have their own little no-fly zone like they had in Denver. And then so that's what 4.
That's 4. You got one more.
And then I got one more. I'm gonna go with we haven't mentioned big fella. Let's go with Jedrick Wills. Hey Jed.
I think there's another offensive
Hey
lineman
Jed.
that was left.
Come on.
I have a name on mine.
Yeah.
So the 5 I had for tier 5.
Yeah.
Chubb,
Yes.
Jerry Jeudy,
Yes.
Okay.
who you mentioned earlier,
Yeah, I
G.
mentioned it earlier.
Now he slid down. DeJuan Jones, who I think is crucial to the Browns' success this season.
Will he be a starter?
I hope so. I don't know how you bring him back off the bench. I had Delpit, and I actually had Alex Wright over Zadarius Smith. I am probably a little too high on Alex Wright as a prospect. I think what I saw at the end of last season has a chance to be exactly what you want opposite of Myles Garrett. I know they brought back Zadarius, so he may not get the snaps he needs, but I think Alex Wright, when it's all said and done, will be the Browns' second leading sack guy in 2024.
Zach, who's your 5 in the next group?
Well, it's not Alex Wright. I like the Za'Darius. I think when you look at Za'Darius and Obo, they're different players. They're asked to do different things. But you're right, Garrett. If one of those guys pops 10, 11, 12 sacks and Miles still plays the whole season, that probably means that they went crazy, right? And I like the Newsome thought, too, because behind Chubb, he's probably on the one that maybe you're uncertain about, but has to be, right? He's playing for a lot of money. He's playing inside and outside, right? He's a guy that they drafted in the first round. They want him to be here. They want him to play better than he did last year.
Yeah.
They need that there. So, Delpit's there, Chubb's there, Newsome's there.
Judy?
Then you start debating. I don't know. I need to see it from Jerry Jeudy before I believe it. You start debating which offensive lineman is it. I mean, it's Jed Wills, same deal, playing for money. Has to do it.
Too.
I was going to mention Pochich is one of my guys. He's played very well for the Browns for 2 years. So I have Nick Chubb. I do have Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to be optimistic that he's a top 15 player, even though he certainly hasn't proven it. I got Pochich on the list. I got Delpit on the list. And I forgot my 15th guy. I guess it doesn't matter. I can't think of.
Well, that means Chubb, Jeudy, and Delpit for sure locked in.
Okay, right.
Those 3.
Okay,
So
now
Za'Darius Smith outweighs my Alex Wright. So Alex Wright.
Newsome.
Sorry.
all 3 of the other offensive linemen got mentioned once. Newsome.
Right.
I think Newsome got mentioned
Yeah,
twice.
so let's lock in
Newsome's
Newsome.
in there. So the last spot has got to be one of the 3 other offensive linemen.
Or Za'Darius Smith.
Or Za'Darius Smith, yeah. No. What about your kicker? You didn't make a case for him again. You had him way earlier.
I did, but I feel like
No offense, Dustin Hopkins had a great year, but if he sucked this year, it wouldn't surprise me. Kickers can be like that except for a few guys.
But he's not a young guy. And you're right, it does happen.
But he wasn't that good before last year.
But sometimes you put it together and you found something.
It could be.
And but whatever.
There are kickers
I'll
that
drop
just have
Dustin
one
Hopkins.
good year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it could.
I'll drop Alex Wright.
You got Cade York, though. He's still back.
DeWand, Zach, if the choices for you were DeWand, Pochich, and Jed Wills, 3 offensive linemen for 1 spot, who do you think will have the best
Or
season
Za'Darius
of those?
Smith.
Well, I
I'm
think
just saying,
between
just between
those
the 3
3 guys.
offensive
I
linemen.
think
Who do you
Jed
trust
is
the most?
playing for the most and plays the most premium position, is the blindside guy there. We haven't seen it from Jed, quite frankly. Nope. Za'Darius is the most proven of those guys, no doubt.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Been a really good player for a long time. And, I think it says a lot that they brought him back because they said this is not Clowney, where we knew he stayed one.
Right.
His sack numbers weren't huge, but he was a good citizen. He was available every game, and we want him there. They look and say, finally they've built to the point where they can say, we're not just projecting. This is how we want to play. We want Za'Darius to play here on this down, here on this down. Obo plays this role, then Alex Wright fills in. That's what they want. And the fact that they made another 2-year commitment to Za'Darius, even though they could get out if it doesn't go well, says that they're counting on a big year from him.
You're 2 under Schwartz. Is there more that they can get out of those guys? Because they play very well year 1.
Yeah, no, they should be, but Garrett, they also just when you no-show the playoff game, it's what's going on?
You're right.
Yeah.
And let's be honest. After the Niners game, I was like, I'm not doubting this defense. This defense is that good. It can carry you. In many ways, it did.
It wasn't
but
after that.
The numbers are skewed. Here's the backups they beat the crap out of, and here's how they performed on the road and against good quarterbacks. And there is a wide gap in there.
I think Za'Darius feels like the choice.
It feels
for the
like
last spot.
the most consensus because G
Yeah.
mentioned him, Zach mentioned him, and I don't think we're going to find a true consensus
I
on
think
lineman.
that's
So let's
it.
go with
So-
Za'Darius Smith to round out
There
our
you
top
go.
15.
That's the list.
You want to read it for us, Bull? Let's see if you
No.
can figure out the
All right,
initials.
let's see if I can
Oh,
remember.
you're right.
Myles Garrett, tier 1. I keep wanting to say Watson. Denzel Ward, JOK, tier 2. Tier 3 is Njoku, Deshaun Watson, and AC Green.
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
Right.
I'm lost now.
This feels like a
Tier 4, Dalvin Tomlinson,
Martin Emerson, Wyatt Teller, and Joe Bitonio.
Nice.
And the last tier is Nick Chubb, Jerry Jeudy,
Good thing it's not
Grant
John Johnson.
Delpit, Greg Newsome, and Za'Darius Smith.
That is kind of
It should
hard.
be a ZS,
Yeah, it should be a ZS, Ant.
not ZD.
Oh, my bad.
When we tweet this out, Ant's going to put the headshots there
Yeah.
instead of the initials.
Pause.
But,
Who's some of the honorable mentions? By the way, there would have been many, 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 many years in the last 25 years where we couldn't even think of 15 decent players on this team, let alone be leaving good players out.
The question mark tier: Elijah Moore, Jack Conklin, Juan Thornhill. What's up, bro?
I had Thornhill
We
as
did
an
not
honorable
see
mention.
you nowhere on the triangle. No pyramid, Juan.
No
What's
mentions.
No mention. Cedric Tillman.
Well, he's not. I mean,
I
this
mean,
is projection,
well,
so maybe
yeah,
he
yeah,
can
yeah.
But he's going to have to
Question-
jump
I
three
mean,
other
I
receivers.
think
he's a
the
question
best
guy.
honorable mentions are probably
The offensive linemen.
Juan Jones and Pochich. Like, those guys were good last year.
Yeah.
And Pochich been good for 2
Hopkins.
years.
I'm going to put Hopkins
I would
in
put
at
him
least
there.
honorable
If
mention.
you're going to put Hopkins, you can put the punter, too. Borges was great last year.
So you guys are telling me you have y'all don't care about Jerome Ford. you think he's not going to do
what do
nothing.
you think about Jerome?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I think they saw they don't want him as their every down back,
Right.
but that's fine too.
Right, yeah.
And I think he has a receiver background. He didn't have much return background, but they thought he was explosive enough to do that. The touchdown he scored against Tennessee last year, he was lined up at receiver. So I think they see him as a piece they can move around.
Yeah.
They bring in Hines, who's been a good player, but he's also coming off an ACL.
Yep.
Foreman's been that short yardage back on like 6 different teams. So
Yep.
I don't know how that goes, but I think Jerome Ford's another one. Like he could
Right.
could end up having a really good year. We
Yeah.
just don't know exactly what the role is going to be.
Right.
Or like in week 4, are we asking Jerome Ford for 20 touches, or is Nick Chubb back?
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
right. Yeah,
is
that's
someone else just doing it then,
Yeah.
and Ford's playing 8, 10, 12 snaps? Right? We don't know that.
Yeah.
I've seen mocks where they had the Browns taking a running back. Is that crazy?
We had a guy,
No.
real quick, we had Kyle Krabs on yesterday who's a draft guy. And we have Dane Brugler from The Athletic coming on Monday. We'll ask him again. And he said all these running backs are on 1-year deals. Like, all of them. Or not 1-year deals, but Chubb's coming in the last year.
Ford would be the only one.
Ford's the only one who's not.
Yeah.
Foreman's on a 1-year deal. Hines on a 1-year deal. Pierre Strong, probably a practice squad guy. So at some point, if you draft a running back, it's more
You're
just
not
for-
going to get Pierre Strong
Yeah.
in a practice squad. He's the best special teams player you have.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get him to the practice squad. But you're trying to
Will he be
accumulate
on the
good
53-man
players.
roster, you think?
Yes, you're trying to accumulate good players and worry about the 53 later. But even if Pierre Strong never carries it, he's arguably your best special teams player. It was a really good
Interesting.
trade last year.
Interesting.
He is so fast. They're actually Ruler's mock that came out today.
Yeah.
Takes another guy from Pierce College, 7th round running back Isaiah Davis.
I like
Has the
Pierre
Browns taken
Strong.
him?
Has the Browns taken it? Yes.
It seems like they can never get him the carries. I was waiting last year to see if he can get some carries or something. I like his running, like his style. I don't know if they just want to use him on special teams and never just quite.
I
worked
think
out.
they might take Audric Estime from Notre Dame, who played for Tommy Rees, who's a big
guy.
battering ram
Yeah.
type guy. That's a name I would look at.
Oh, wow.
And if they go, if they do go wide receiver in that range in the second round, and could you see them trading up?
No, I don't see him trading up at all.
Okay.
I think most likely they trade down, add a 4th rounder, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
go about their draft. Yeah.
So what are the wide receivers in that range that you like?
The kid from Western Kentucky, Malachi Corley, who's not like a traditional wide receiver. He's built like a running back. He can play the slot. Like
Okay.
very poor man's Deebo Samuel, right? Let's let him play in the NFL before we make that comparison.
Right.
Poverty line Debo.
On the current Browns wide receiver group, how many of the Browns' current wide receivers will be on this roster in 2025?
Yeah, that's a great question. Amari's in the last year of his deal. Elijah Moore's in the last year of his deal.
Yeah.
David Bell's on a rookie minimum, so if you
Right.
moved on from him, it wouldn't cost you anything.
Right.
So that's a good question.
Hey, we have no.
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
by what
Same
he's
running
done,
backs.
Amari should get extended.
Yeah.
By Amari looking at what Jerry Jeudy got, he should say extend me. But the
Right.
fact is, this is year 10 and age
Yeah.
30 season, and it's probably not good business to extend.
Yeah.
And that's the rub when you get here. And especially when you have paid everybody in the locker room, that's where the dynamic comes in.
Yeah. How much hope do you have for Cedric Tillman taking a leap?
Man, the size makes him different. I don't have any hope outside of that.
Yeah.
But
You
I've
big
seen
dog.
it's hard for rookies.
Yeah.
And like he's not just a big receiver, like he's a big wide
Right,
receiver.
right.
So like he can throw blocks and potentially make red zone catches that other guys
He
can't.
did. He had a nice
Van
block
Noy.
in
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yeah.
He tattooed that
We
guy.
referenced
Yeah.
it before, but we didn't ask you. If DeWand and Conklin are both healthy, what do they do?
Yeah, that's a big if.
Big if, yeah.
I don't know. Conklin's only got guaranteed money for one more year. So
Yeah.
I think DeWan starts week 1, and then we see what happens from
Yeah.
I do too.
Because I think you can kind of couch that as we're not going to push Jack back. We know Jack can play.
Oh yeah, that's a nice. I like that. You good. I like that. I like how that propaganda is great. You can tell he be writing, yeah, we want to push you.
I've listened to a
Bring
lot
you
of
on
coaches BS for a lot of years. But, you know, Conklin didn't even start last year. Or was that 2 seasons ago when he came back? 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they let him just kind of hang out and
Right.
go through the motions the first few weeks, and then they got a full season out of him. So
Still don't understand why they gave him an extension.
They were getting ahead of the market. It was the same thing as Jerry Jeudy. They were saying we want to reward our own guy, and they do love him as a person and a player. Yeah. But we're talking about a second major knee injury on an older player.
Well, that's the risk with all those deals. I mean, if it hits, it's genius.
That's right.
And if it doesn't, it looks terrible, and it's really hard to get out of without some serious consequences.
I agree that DeJuan has a high ceiling, but a knee injury on a guy that size is scary.
You worry about him.
It's tough, and it's scary going for the future, too. Yes.
Yeah. Great stuff, Zach.